Welcome to How to Craft a World-Class Life. This is Robin Sharma, and I'm delighted to be with you on this audio learning program and to be coaching you through some material that will take your life to its next level. Let me begin by asking you the question, what is a world-class life for you? I'd like you to just take a moment, maybe pause the recording if you like, and just reflect on what is a world-class life in your mind. Who in your world would you consider to be world-class? Maybe in terms of health, maybe in terms of career, maybe in terms of as a human being. Just reflect on that, because awareness precedes choice, which precedes results. As you build better awareness about what a world-class life for you will look like, you can make better choices today and tomorrow and in the coming days, weeks, and months. And with those better choices, of course, you're going to see better results. To me, a world-class life comes down to a few key things. First of all, a world-class life is all about being successful, achieving your goals and your dreams, achieving the kind of physical life you want, achieving the kind of emotional life you want. To me, successful is also about economic success because abundance is important. Money is important to live your dreams, to take the travels you want, to create the kind of family experience that you want for your family. Number two, a world-class life to me is about being significant, feeling that you've not walked the planet in vain, feeling that you're making a difference, feeling that you're creating value for other people. Being world-class and crafting a world-class life is about realizing your gifts and your potential. I think every one of us has that duty to shine. It's a philosophy that I've been teaching a lot recently. We have a duty to shine. There are no extra people on the planet. And every one of us has gifts. Most people don't know their gifts. And with those gifts comes the responsibility for us to walk out into the world and present those gifts so that number one, we realize our potential, and number two, so we make a difference in the lives of those around us. What else does a world-class life mean to me? It means having high levels of excitement and being challenged. According to the latest scientific evidence, the human brain craves novelty. In other words, we need to be challenged. And it's such a paradox. Most of us, we live within this comfort zone. We don't really challenge ourselves. We really don't stretch all that much. And yet we'll be happier as human beings and more fulfilled when we challenge ourselves. So in other words, the greatest risk is not taking risks. And we live our lives within this comfort zone, and yet our true abilities and our true joy lives outside of that comfort zone. To me also, living a world-class life is not about postponing life. In other words, you don't want to postpone your life. So many people, they postpone living. When I get that promotion, I'll be happier at work. When my children go off to university, I'll take more travels. When I have more time, I will take more time for myself. You know, life waits for no one. And I've realized the only thing we can expect in life is truly the unexpected. The other day I was on a highway and I saw a convertible driving alongside of me, and I looked at the license plate and it simply said MYTIMETLVE. And I took that to mean my time to live. And inside it there was an old man driving this sports car. And I thought to myself, you know, so many of us wait until we're old to live our best lives. Most of us postpone traveling or taking risks or chasing our dreams or opening our hearts to love until a later point. And yet none of us really know when our time is up. So those are some of the factors in my mind that lead to a world-class life. I want to ask you right now, where are you today in terms of crafting a world-class life? Peter Drucker, the management consultant, said, what gets measured gets improved. And so if you start to reflect on where you now are, you can start to make the course corrections to get you to where you want to be. Again, awareness precedes choice, which precedes results. As you reflect on where you are in terms of being world-class in all of the core areas of your life, that will build better awareness. With better awareness, you're going to make better choices. Of course you will. That's what makes us human. We can make better choices. And when you make better choices in your days, you're going to see better results in your life. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being mediocre, 10 being world-class, I would like you to write down a number as to where you are in being world-class as a human being this very moment. Pause the recording, write down the number, and then come back. Okay, wonderful. Welcome back. The next thing I'd like you to do is write one paragraph on the gap. And here's what I mean by that. Write a paragraph articulating where is the gap and why is there a gap between where you now are and where you want to be. So if you're at a 5 right now, write down why is there the gap. It might be because you haven't found the love of your life. It might be because you don't feel you're in world-class physical condition. It might be because you don't love the work that you do. Whatever it is, start to write about why there is the gap between the person that you now are and where you want to be in terms of being world-class. Again, pause the recording. Please do this. It's so important that you engage in this exercise to get the results that I want for you. Okay, again, welcome back. Now you have a sense of awareness as to where you are on the world-class scale And number two, why there's that gap. With that in mind, let me share the 8 elements of a world-class life. We're going to start with number 1, being world-class health. I truly believe that your health is your wealth. And if you don't have good health, you have nothing. I remember about a year ago, the kids and I were walking in a park behind our home. And it was one of those magical autumn evenings. The sun was setting and the sky looked incredibly beautiful. And as I was laughing with my 2 favorite people and talking and admiring the beauty of the scene around us, I noticed at the edge of the park there was a man who was kind of shuffling. He was moving very slowly. His head was looking down towards the ground. And as I grew closer to him, I realized that this man had some kind of an illness. It seemed to me that he'd experienced a stroke or something of that nature. And I thought to myself, no matter how much money this man has, no matter what his title might be, no matter what kind of house he lives in, he really doesn't have anything because he can't enjoy this precious moment. In so many ways, the greatness of life comes down to the simple pleasures. And if you don't have your health, you can't experience those. I was sitting down with one of my mentors a little while ago, and he looked at me and he goes, "Robin, I'm really into breezes these days." "What do you mean you're into breezes?" And he goes, "I love the smell of breezes. I've developed an appreciation of breezes." You know, that made me laugh, but again, it's the simple pleasures of life that are so important. I promise you this, at the end of your life, the things that you now perceive to be the big things, they might be the little things. And the things you now perceive to be the little things, like breezes and laughing with your family and being kind to strangers, at the end of your life, you might get to a realization that those were actually the big things. And most importantly is your health. You do not want to be the richest person in the cemetery. You do not want to be the richest person in the graveyard. It makes me think of that Hebrew saying, when we are young, we would sacrifice all of our health for wealth. And when we get old, we would sacrifice every bit of our wealth for just one good day of health. A while ago, there's a gentleman that I know who invited my kids and myself over to his place. Colby is really into sports cars, and this gentleman had just bought a world-class exotic sports car. And as we drove up to this man's house, it was a mansion. The kids went off with him, and he was such a kind man, and he treated them so well. I had the opportunity to have a conversation with his wife. And as we were walking through the home, she pointed to the swimming pool, and she said, "You see that swimming pool?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Do your children like to swim?" I said, "They love it." She said, "Well, you should bring them over sometime because we never get a chance to use that pool." I said, "Well, thank you." We moved through the house, and she points to the tennis court, and she says, "You see that tennis court?" I said, "Yeah, it's a gorgeous tennis court." She said, "Well, do your children play tennis?" I said, "They do." She said, "Why don't you bring the children by sometime?" It's because we never use that court. I said, "Okay, I will. Thank you." As we kept on walking, she took me to this incredible theater room, an entertainment room full of games, etc. And she said, "Do your children like this kind of thing?" I said, "You know, my kids, they love games. They love all this kind of thing. It would be amazing for them to see this room." She says, "Well, bring them by sometime because we never get a chance to use this." And then after I reflected, I looked at her and I said, "You know, why don't you get a chance to use that beautiful swimming pool, that incredible tennis court in this room here?" She looked at me and she said, "You know, all my husband's life, he's been building his business, and he's a very, very good man. And now, just when we're getting to enjoy all the gifts from his hard work, he's fallen ill, and we spend most of our time in the hospital." The point is simply this. It's so important to put your health first. We take our health for granted until we lose it. And yet when we lose it, we spend 24/7, all of our waking time, trying to get it back. You know, I was thinking about this recently. How about those times when you have a really bad flu? Let's say you're very healthy, generally speaking, but you have a really bad flu, and you're laying in bed. Just think about how you feel. Nothing else matters. You just want to get that feeling of being healthy again. You just want to get your energy back. You just want to be able to do the things that you love to do. Well, just imagine now if you contracted some kind of a critical illness and you're laying in bed and you perhaps don't know how long you have left to live, or you're incapacitated. Robert Louis Stevenson said it so well. He said, "Soon or late, we must sit at a banquet of consequences." And if you're not taking care of your health today, and you're not eating well today, and you're not staying fit today, down the road, it will definitely catch up with you. As I've written in my book, Leadership Wisdom from the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, those who don't make time for exercise must eventually make time for illness. And please don't say that you don't have time. I mean, if you don't have your health down the road, you can't enjoy your dreams. You can't experience your family. You can't travel the world. I mean, we live in an incredible world with so much to see and so many adventures to experience. And if you don't have your health, you won't be able to enjoy any of that. You won't be able to see your children grow up. And please don't say that you don't have time. Saying that to me would be like saying you're too busy driving to stop for gas. Eventually it will catch up with you. You actually cannot afford the time not to exercise. You cannot afford the time not to be in world-class health. Now let's talk about some of the benefits of you getting into world-class physical condition. And I know you can do this with some commitment, some discipline, and some daily action. Again, it's all about those 1% wins. If each day you improve your health 1%, after 1 month, that's a 30% improvement. After 1 year, that's a 365% improvement in your health. It's all about those baby steps. What I realize about elite performers is they focus on being consistent around the simple daily fundamentals. They practice the little things, and yet the weeks do slip into months, the months slip into years. Before you know it, you're living a world-class life. So let me get to the benefits of being in world-class health for you. Number one, you'll be happier. We know that there's adrenaline, serotonin, and all these positive endorphins that are released when you're exercising. Number two, you'll be clearer as a thinker. Now, I want you to think about that point. You'll be clearer as a thinker when you're in better health. When you're feeling really strong physically, you're feeling really healthy, your thinking is more clear. I was talking to a client recently, and he said to me, you know what? Sometimes I'm sitting at the office, I've been working hard all day, I'm feeling lots of stress. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll go for a swim. My colleagues can't understand that. They think I'm wasting time. He says, I come back after that swim. What I get done in an hour is more productive, more creative, more world-class than what it would take me 8 hours to get to. The point is simply this. As you get into better health, your thinking will be more clear. And with better thinking, you'll make better decisions. You'll make less mistakes. You'll be more successful. And most importantly, you'll create those world-class results that I know you're looking for. Another benefit from being in world-class health, you'll have more energy. You'll have more passion. If you're in sales or business, you know that it's all about transferring your passion for your products and services. As a family member, you want to be passionate. With your friends and those you love, you want to have passion. You want to have high levels of energy. There's some people in my life that just being around them, they lift up my energy. I want to be one of those people. I know you do as well. And that'll be one of the benefits of exercising. What else? Have you ever noticed that when you're in good health and you're taking care of your physical dimension, you actually eat better? So many people say to me, Robin, I made a decision to start exercising on a consistent basis every week. And now, as a result of that, I just make better choices in terms of my diet. And I've experienced that in my own life. When I'm in really good physical condition, I make healthier choices about what I pick up from the grocery store, about what I eat, and the way I run my diet. Other benefits. You'll look better. You'll look younger. You'll look more vital. You'll look like someone who's living an extraordinary life. You'll live longer. We all want to live longer. We all want to get the best of life. It reminds me of that quote, if I knew how long I'd live, I would have taken better care of myself. And then the final benefit that I can think of right now is that as you get into world-class health, you'll experience less stress. So there's a giant return on investment in taking care of your health. And I meet far too many executives, far too many entrepreneurs, far too many human beings as I travel around the world sharing my message with people who tell me, you know, Robin, I know my health is important, but I just don't have the time. You know what? Make it number one. You cannot be world-class. You cannot be a great family person. You cannot live your dreams if you don't have your health. Do that for yourself. Getting into world-class health offers a giant return on your investment. You can't do your dreams if you're not in good health. So let me get down to some specific tactics that will help you get into world-class health. First of all, focus on fitness and exercise. What does that mean? Doing aerobic activity at least 4 times a week. Also doing weights. Someone once said to me at the gym, you know what? When I do weights consistently, I feel strong. It gives me more self-confidence to help me be more successful in my career. Also, around the fitness piece, take the time to stretch. And also, one of the best moves you can make is hire or engage a physical trainer or a fitness trainer. That's so important to keep you focused on this discipline on a consistent basis for the long term. You know, I have a trainer, and I never work out as hard alone as I do when I'm with a trainer. And you might be saying to me, Robin, well, you know, I can't afford a trainer. To me, engaging a fitness trainer or a fitness coach to help you get into world-class health is not an expense, it's an investment. You're going to get better ideas. And all it takes is one idea to pay for all that fitness training itself 10 times over or 100 times over. The second practical tactic on the world-class health piece is diet. Diet is so important. You want to eat to win. So many people don't understand that when your diet is in great condition, it actually makes you more money. When your diet is in great condition, you're actually more loving. When your diet is in great condition, you have more energy, you have more stamina. Life is much more colorful. Life is much more beautiful. Diet is so important. Fundamentally, one of the most important things that you have is your energy. And if you have a great diet, you'll have more energy. So you can do more, so you can laugh more, so you can have more fun, so you're more productive. And if you eat the wrong diet, if you eat a heavy diet, you're tired. Let me ask you, how do you feel after you've had a steak for lunch? And I know you don't have a steak for lunch, but how do you feel after you've had a really heavy meal for lunch? Rest of the afternoon, you're exhausted. A couple of months ago, some of my colleagues and I went off to a day of strategic planning for our business. And all morning, it was amazing. I had fresh fruit for breakfast, and I had some egg whites in an omelet, and I had an amazingly productive and creative morning with the rest of my team. Well, lunchtime came, and guess what? It was buffet time. And I'm a pretty disciplined guy, but you know what? I ate a little bit too much over the buffet because I just loved the food over there. And guess what? All afternoon, I was tired, my concentration was off, I wasn't listening as well as I should have been, and I didn't get many great ideas. The point is simply this: what I had for lunch cost me a lot of money. What I had for lunch cost me a lot of creativity. What I had for lunch depleted my energy. Your diet affects so much. If you want to be an elite performer, and I know you do, you probably already are, your diet needs to be world class. You want to eat to win. You are an athlete. You're an athlete on the playing field of business. You're an athlete on the playing field of life. Some specific points on diet for you. First of all, you want to eat less. I think most of us eat far more than we need to, and if you eat too much, you won't have the energy you need to live your dreams. Number 2, don't eat after 7 o'clock at night. That's one of the best tactics I use to have high levels of energy. The digestive process is one of the body's most energy-consuming processes. If you're eating at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or even 10 o'clock, all night your body is expending its energy to digest that food. Guess what happens? You can't get up early. And if you've read The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, or Discover Your Destiny with The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, or my book The Saint, the Surfer, or The CEO, or you've ever been to any of my programs like the Awakening Best Self Weekend, which is a 2-day personal transformation weekend that draws people from all around the world, you know how important I truly believe it is that you wake up in the morning early. One of the core traits of greatness of all elite performers that I've ever worked with as a success coach is they get up early and they take the time to work on themselves and think about their dreams and plan and exercise and listen to music and they read. So here's the point. Again, don't eat after 7 o'clock. You'll wake up early, full of energy to walk out in the world and shine brightly. Another practical tip, get into juicing. I spend a lot of time juicing, and juicing is a great way to get enormous amounts of fruit and vegetables into your body, and it also promotes your energy, and it's a great way to manage a world-class diet. Another practical tip for you, what you don't bring home, you can't eat. And I'm saying that kind of jokingly, but what you don't bring home from the grocery store, you can't eat, because we're all human. We all have a tendency to look over there at those cookies in the corner, and then we start to come up with all these rationalizations. Well, you know what? I've been eating pretty well for the past few days. Well, you know what? I've worked hard today. I deserve it. Often we eat junk food because there's something eating us. It's that old line. It's not what you're eating. It's what's eating you. We all have these holes within us. We all have these insecurities. We all have these wounds. And often what we do is we eat the wrong foods to fill those holes and to try to provide some way to feel a little bit better. And the irony is we end up feeling worse. So get into world-class health. You want to craft a world-class life. That's job number 1. Brings me to point number 2. Develop a world-class attitude. We've heard these platitudes, such as the better your attitude, the higher your altitude, and we take it for granted. And yet when you really think about it, the attitude that you bring to your days in so many ways defines your destiny. And you might say to me, Robin, well, you know what? I've got a great attitude. And I'd say to you, just think about it. Just make sure you do. It's like that phrase that I think about from time to time. What does the fish know of the water within which it swims? Human beings really aren't objective. We're subjective. We see the world not as it is. We see the world as we are. If I was going to serve as your one-on-one success coach, the first thing I do is I get 10 people, the 10 people you spend most of your time with, and I would interview them. And I would ask them, is this person the most positive person that you know? And if so, why? And if not, tell me about the gaps. And that might be a powerful exercise for you to do. I mean, as a matter of fact, let's do this right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, really think about this. Where would you rate yourself? 1 being mediocre and 10 having a world-class attitude. In other words, being the most positive person you know. Where would you rate yourself? I've been spending a lot of time thinking about my own attitude recently. You know, I find as my life gets more complex, I face more struggles. And that's simply a reflection of the movement in my life and the positive growth. But if I don't have a good attitude, guess what? I come to work, I'm frustrated. And if I'm frustrated or unhappy or feeling disappointed or discouraged, or if I'm negative, I'm going to bring that toxicity into my culture with my team. If I get home at the end of the day and I'm not positive, I'm going to affect my children. I'm going to affect the people that I love. It's so important to have a world-class attitude. Now, before I go any further, I'm not saying be Pollyanna. I'm not saying fake it. I'm not saying go into denial. I think it's really important if you're feeling frustration or sadness or anger or irritation or disappointment that you acknowledge that. And once you've acknowledged it and processed through it, for example, journaled about it or talked about it or got it out of your system, then it's important to go into that positive attitude and look for the gift, look for the blessing, look for the lesson. And please remember that point I just mentioned a few minutes ago, which is we see the world not as it is, we see the world as we are. You know what? I truly believe, and call me an idealist, but I think this is a great time to be alive. As a matter of fact, I think this is the greatest time in the history of humanity to be on planet Earth. I mean, think about it. We've got access to so much wisdom on the internet. We've got a world where there are just tons of opportunities. It's a great time to be alive. And yet most of us don't really focus on all those blessings. We focus on what's not working in our life rather than focusing on what is working in our life. It makes me think of when my son Colby was about 5 years old and I took him out for a wonderful lunch. It was an Italian lunch. And you know, like any little kid, he eats the bread first. And here's what he did. He reached over and he started munching on that incredible Italian bread. And he ate the soft stuff first, and then he left the crust in his plate. And when he was finished, he had a big smile on his face, and he looked at me and he said, "Dad, now I'm done." And I said, "Son, what about the crust?" And he looked at me and he said, "No, Daddy, I just have the good stuff." And children do come to us more highly evolved than adults to teach us the lessons we need to learn. I truly believe that adults are nothing more than deteriorated children. We can learn so much from the wisdom of little kids. And on that day, my little son taught me a very powerful lesson, which is children have this innate ability, it's a natural ability to focus on the good stuff. They have an incredible attitude. I don't know one little child, maybe 3 years old, who looks up at his mommy and says, "Mommy, I can't let go of last year. I can't let go of the baggage of the past. I just can't forgive." That's hilarious to even think about that. Children have this ability to look for the good. Children have a wonderful attitude. They have this ability to forgive. They have this exquisite ability to live in the moment. So my challenge to you in the most respectful of ways is to be the most positive person that you know. Maintain your perspective. You know, we all have problems, every single one of us, of course myself included. What I've realized is often the more we are growing and the more we're crafting a world-class life and the more risks we're taking and the more we're dreaming, the more we are going to experience problems. As a matter of fact, the bigger the life you're living, the more struggles you're going to face. And that's a giant gift. It allows you to grow more as a human being. I've learned the most from my most difficult experiences. The problems that have brought me to my knees have actually been the very things that have opened my heart, allowed me to build better understanding, become more loving, and become wiser as a human being. I would not trade my painful experiences for anything. They have served me so well, and they have made me the man that I am right here, right now. And something else I invite you to consider. The only people with no problems are dead. Let me give you some tools for a world-class attitude. First of all, write gratitude lists. Gratitude is so very powerful. It causes us to pay attention to all the good things in our life. It makes me think of that Persian proverb, "I cursed the fact I had no shoes on my feet until I saw the man who had no feet." If you're feeling frustrated in your life, go to a critical care ward maybe on your way home from work today. Walk around the ward, look at the people who are facing serious critical illness, and maybe count your blessings. Maybe count the fact that you live in a great country. Maybe count the fact that you have your health today. Maybe count the fact that you can speak English, or Chinese, or Hebrew, or Hindi, or Russian. Count the fact that you have people who love you. Count the fact that you can breathe air today. Count the fact that you're alive. More than ever these days, I'm trying to celebrate the simple things of life. And remember the key philosophy: what you focus on grows, what you think about expands, and what you dwell on determines your destiny. As you begin to pay attention to the simple things that maybe you've been neglecting in your life, the simple blessings, you'll see more good things entering your life. Number 2, to develop a world-class attitude, start doing success collages. What's a success collage? Let's say you're focusing on what a world-class life will look like to you over the next 12 months. Well, you get a large piece of cardboard and you go out and you buy a bunch of magazines that have images of the life you want to create. You get images of people in the health that you want to have. You get images of the places you want to travel. Perhaps you get an image of the house you want to live in. You get images of someone like a Mahatma Gandhi or Nelson Mandela or Mother Teresa or a Martin Luther King Jr. And you post all of these images on this big piece of cardboard. That's your success collage. And then every morning, maybe when you're brushing your teeth, you'll look at that. You know, I post a lot of things on my bathroom mirror. I have images, I have quotes, I have my goals, I have my core values. I look at these things at the beginning of my morning because that builds the awareness. And with better awareness, I'll make better choices as I walk into my day. And with better choices, of course, I'm going to see better results. So do a success collage to create that positive attitude, that world-class attitude. Number 3, see your problems as growth opportunities. World-class people, world-class human beings have conditioned their minds to look for the good in every seemingly negative situation. Your difficult experiences are your servants. They actually come to make you better. They actually come to teach you. Even if you're at work and you're dealing with a difficult client, Often we sit there and we get frustrated, we get plugged into their anger or their irritation or their negativity. But what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, what's the gift here? As a matter of fact, you know if you're dealing with a difficult customer, that is actually an opportunity to build an even better relationship with that customer. So in every difficult situation, and when you face the inevitable problems that every human being will encounter as we journey through life, look for the good. And I'm not saying go into denial and don't experience the frustration or anger or irritation that you might experience. That's a natural part of being human. Process through it in healthy ways, such as journaling. But once you've moved through that negative emotion, remember it's important to look for the opportunity, to look for the lesson. Ask yourself, how can I use this experience to make me better? How can I use this to make me a better human being, to make me wiser, to develop understanding? Say you're having a conflict with someone you love. You can get frustrated, you can get shut down. You might even say something that will hurt them, that they'll never be able to forget, that they'll never be able to get off their mind. Or you can ask yourself, what's the opportunity here? Maybe it's a chance for me to learn to listen better to someone else. Maybe it's a chance for me to learn not to judge so much. Maybe it's a chance for me to open my heart. Maybe it's a chance for me to be a better communicator. Maybe it's a chance for me to develop more understanding. Another practical point to develop a world-class attitude, develop what I call world-class reference points. Reference points are so important. I'll give you an example of a reference point. Studying world-class people. If you surround yourself with people who are mediocre, you're going to see what's available or the possibilities of the world according to who they are and according to the way they think and according to what they talk about. Because I think in many ways you do become who you have lunch with. But if your reference points are people who are playing at their highest level, let's say you have mentors who are at a world-class level, or let's say you don't know anyone, you can read books of people who are living world-class lives, and they become your reference points, and you read the great autobiographies and the biographies of the great women and men who have graced the planet before us. Guess what? You get a whole new series of reference points. You get introduced to whole new levels of possibilities about what your life can stand for and who you are meant to become. You actually get behind their eyeballs and you say, you know what? It is possible for me to be in world-class health. It is possible for me to have a relationship that I truly love. It is possible for me to have work that truly touches my heart and makes me feel not only like going into work every day with a great smile on my face, but that I'm actually an instrument of service. Reference points are so important. As well, take the time to read from the inspirational literature. That's a great way to develop a world-class attitude. I try to spend at least 60 minutes every day reading something inspiring, reading something wise, reading something philosophical. And inevitably that does two things for me. Number one, it gives me perspective. And number two, I walk away feeling more hopeful. I don't know about you, but when I read some great books, when I read from the wisdom literature, when I read from the inspirational books, I have more hope. I have more energy. I just feel better about my life. And then the final practical tip to develop a world-class attitude, use world-class language. When I'm working with my one-on-one coaching clients as their success coach, I see it as part of my job to call them on any bad language or even any negative language because I do believe that we become what we talk about. And here's the big idea. The words you use actually shape the way you process the world. In other words, language or the words you use actually shapes your reality. I'll give you a specific example. Let's say you go into the office and one of your colleagues is irritable with you. You can sit there and you can say, I'm really frustrated and angry and this is a disaster. Every day I go into the office and this person drives me crazy. That would be one way to language the situation. But what someone who's crafting a world-class life would do would sound completely different. It might sound like this. You know what? There's an opportunity here. That person might be in fear. What can I do to give that person more understanding? And what can I do to also set my own boundaries so I'm respected? This is a great opportunity. What a gift. So the words you use are so important. You know, I feel so blessed to have had the privilege to have met some truly amazing world-class people as I've journeyed through life. And one of the consistent traits of greatness that I've observed in almost each one of them is the language that they use. Their language is the language of greatness. Their language is the language of possibility. I remember meeting Shimon Peres, the Nobel Prize winner and the former Israeli Prime Minister, and I asked him, Mr. Peres, what's the most important thing about life? What's life all about? And he looked at me and he said, to find a cause greater than yourself and then dedicate your life to it. That was the language of possibility. He spoke the language of hope. He spoke the language of leadership. He spoke world-class language. As you craft a world-class life, develop a world-class character. My sense is you wouldn't be here listening to me unless you were truly committed to developing a world-class character, to be honest, to be ethical. I remember my dad saying to me when I was growing up, he said, Robin, protect your good name. It could take you 30 years to develop a great reputation and 30 seconds to lose it. A few weeks ago, I was giving a corporate speech in Atlanta, and a taxi cab drove by as I was waiting outside of my hotel. And it was a New Balance ad, the athletic shoe company. And on it said, "How hard do you play when no one's watching?" And I want you to think about that line. How hard do you play when no one's watching? How honest are you when no one's watching? How ethical are you when no one's watching? How great are you when no one's watching? I think the way you are when no one's watching will really define how great you are as a human being. Isn't that what leadership's all about? How you react when no one's watching. And here's the big idea on this third point about developing a world-class character to live a world-class life. There can be no happiness if what you do is not aligned with who you are. Please think about that. There can be no happiness if what you do is not aligned with who you are. Let me put it another way. There can be no happiness, no fulfillment, and you cannot have a world-class life if your daily actions are not congruent or aligned with your deepest convictions. At the Awakening Best Self weekend, which is this 2-day personal transformation weekend that I mentioned, one of the first things that I help participants do is help them identify what I call any integrity gap. In other words, the greater the gap between the person who you truly are and the person you present to the world, the less your life is going to work. And secondly, the less integrity you're going to have. You see, that's why so many people, I believe, are unhappy on the planet today. They know in their hearts who they are. They know their deepest values because we all know our truths. We all have a conscience or a witness that resides deep within us that knows how we should be living. And yet, the way we occur in the outer world is different from who we are. We're out of integrity. We're committing the number one crime a human being can commit, which is self-betrayal. And then we wonder why our lives don't work. And here's another powerful idea. The world wants you to win. Life wants you to win. And yet most people get in their own way. Most people sabotage themselves because their character is not world-class, because there is this integrity gap. To live a world-class life, close the integrity gap. Articulate what your values are, how you want to live, what's your philosophy for life, how you want to spend your days, what your gifts are. And then have the courage, bit by bit, day by day, to build that life that is true to yourself. That's what being authentic is all about. And if you look at all the greatest sages and all the greatest philosophers who have graced the planet before us, they all said the same thing. Success comes by being true to your heart. What did Shakespeare mean when he said, "To thine own self be true"? He said, be authentic. Close the integrity gap. Ideally, the person you are in the outer world will be the same the person you are in your inner world. I spend a lot of time on CEO panels as I travel around the world. And the number one thing I consistently hear when a top CEO is asked, what is the most important key to leadership, is integrity. A couple of months ago, I had a meeting in Los Angeles with Michael Johnson, who runs Herbalife, and he formerly ran Walt Disney International. And I think he's a great example of a world-class CEO. I asked him, what's the number one thing that has created the success that you've experienced in your career? And he looked at me and he said, integrity. And he said, my mother taught me that. Some specific tools for you to close the integrity gap, to ensure that you are world-class in terms of your character. Number one, be honest. In other words, be the most honest person you know. It never ceases to amaze me how many people are just looking for the quick fix, the cash grab, the quick win. Rather than building a high-trust, long-term relationship, they cut corners. They're dishonest. They want the quick piece of business. And the paradox is they don't get the business. The paradox really is the more you are honest, the more you show people that you're a person of trust, the more they will trust you. And when people trust you, they will love to do business with you. They will drive across the city. They will drive 100 miles to do business with you because they believe in you. The second practical point to develop a world-class character, always be creating value. I think this life of ours is very fair. We will be rewarded by the amount of value that we add. If you wake up every day and you ask yourself, how can I be of service to the people that I'm going to meet? How can I inspire others to be better? I had one participant in one of my workshops, and I'll never forget him. His name was John. He came from Miami. And he said, my goal every day is to leave people better than I found them. Imagine walking through life with that attitude. And the point really is this. If you are all about adding value to others, life will see that, and you'll be rewarded more than you could ever imagine. Life truly does have a very fair accounting system, and good things happen to good people. Another point on world-class character, keep your promises. I see this over and over and over again. People do not pay attention to the power of their word. Talk is truly cheap. The best of the best that I've worked with as an executive coach or when I travel for my speaking engagements, and I meet the people who are the elite performers of organizations or communities, they are people who I hear have large amounts of credibility. They don't say something unless they're going to follow through on it. They are people of action. They keep their word. Business is all about relationships. Life is all about relationships. The quality of your relationships will determine the quality of your life. And if you don't keep your promises to the people you work with, your customers, your suppliers, your family members, eventually they're going to say, that person's all talk, but they never follow through on it. Especially with your children, if you have children. Remember, those little eyes are watching you. Keep those promises. If you say you're going to take them to the latest Harry Potter movie, take them. If you say you're going to take them out to a park, do it. If you say you're going to read to them, make sure you keep that promise. You'll teach the importance of being a human being who keeps their word. Another point on character, and I know you know this, but as Voltaire said, common sense is anything but common. Have great manners. We live in a world where we've forgotten the power of please and thank you. To me, please means I respect you, and thank you means I appreciate you. Just think in your own life, how many times you've gone to your favorite restaurant perhaps, or maybe to a store, and you've bought something, maybe you spent a lot of money, and the one thing that was missing as you left the store was a sign of appreciation. No one said thank you. And how did you feel? How was the experience? Would you go back? Now ask yourself in your life, are you world class in terms of the manners you use? And then the final point about developing a world-class character, don't give up. Having a strong character is about being persistent. And I've seen this so often with so many people that I've worked with. They feel like giving up just before they're going to get to their greatest treasure. It's like that acres of diamonds story. The person was digging and digging and digging, looking for the diamond, and then they gave up. And then the next person who bought the piece of land dug another few feet, and they found the treasure. Never give up. I find success is really a numbers game. And the people who are most successful are the people who play the numbers, play the averages. The philosophers in the East say it so well. Every arrow that hits the bullseye is the result of 100 misses. Failure is the price of ambition. Failure is the process by which every elite performer gets to greatness. As a matter of fact, the people who are the most successful have failed the most. And let me challenge you with great respect. If you're not failing at least once a week, I believe you're playing small with your life. Look at the greatest companies on the planet, and look at the greatest leaders on the planet. They are people who have failed far more than the average person. Why? Because they dream far bigger. It's like that old metaphor. The more you walk, the greater the chance that you'll stub your toe. But if you don't walk farther than others, you're not going to live a greater life. And just think about it. You can't learn how to sail without tipping the boat over a few times. You can't learn how to play the piano without hitting a few wrong notes. Life is all about making mistakes. The real key is to never give up, to keep on moving forward, and to be world-class in terms of your persistence. Point number 4, as you craft a world-class life, develop world-class relationships and a world-class community around you. You know, I don't really know why, but I've been reading obituaries more than I ever have in the past. Maybe it's because I'm connecting to my mortality these days, and I'm realizing that life is short, and now is the time to play our best game. And as I read these obituaries, I must tell you one thing. I have yet to see an obituary that says he died peacefully, surrounded by his stockbroker, his accountant, and his golfing partner. Every obituary that I read generally says the same thing. He died peacefully, surrounded by his family and the people he loves. If that's going to be the most important thing to you at the end of your life, I invite you, I encourage you to make it the most important thing in your life right now. Nothing is more important than your family. Nothing is more important than relationships. And the irony is, so many of us treat the people we love the most harshly at times. Some of the things that are said to family members, you'd never say to someone at the office. Some of the things I hear parents saying to their children at times shocks me. It's as if there's no awareness about the impact of that parent's words on the child. And I know the parents are probably good parents, but the point is they have no awareness about the power of the words and the impact those words are having on their child. Because they're irritable, because they're angry in the moment, and yet they're treating the people they love the most in the most harsh of ways. Over the past few years, I've been the success coach to some extraordinarily successful CEOs and entrepreneurs. And from time to time, they'll walk into my office, or I'll get on the phone with them, and they'll say to me, you know what, Robin? I have it all. The world thinks I have it all. The world thinks I have an ideal life. I've got my own private jet. I travel the world first class. I've got a winter home in the Caribbean. I've got hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. But you know what, Robin? Speaking openly, my heart feels empty. And I ask them why. And they'll say something like this. Well, my children left for college a couple of months ago, and I realized I don't even know them, and they don't even know me. Few things will break your heart as much as not connecting with your family and not building those key relationships, especially with your children. More than ever, I've realized our job is not just to parent our children. Our job is to champion our children. Our job is to develop the leadership capacities of our children. Our job is to help our children become the best human beings they can be. And once we've done that, we let them go out in the world when the time is right and let them shine. And please remember, with children as well as with all your family members and the people you love the most, we have a small window of opportunity. My children will never be 9 and 11 again. That window of opportunity closes, and all too often, once it closes, it's lost forever. Make the time today to be the family member you know in your heart you're meant to be. And also make the time to be the friend that you know you should be. One of the deepest hungers of the human heart is the need for belonging, and this need for community, this need to be connected to other people. I mean, as human beings, we need love. And when you're surrounded by family and friends and a strong sense of community, it makes you feel happier because you've got that love need met. You feel a connection to the world around you. You feel that there's people who love you. Some practical points to build relationships. Number 1, be a person of service. Be that person who's always there to be helpful to others. Number 2, write love letters to your family members. Write that little note and put it in your children's lunchbox or on the bathroom mirror so your partner can see it when they get up in the morning. And also make sure you develop a world-class orbit. One idea that you get in one conversation with a friend who is world-class can transform your life. I'm so blessed in my life to have conversations with some people who are truly amazing. These are people who inspire me. These are people who, just being around them, I feel better about the possibilities of my life. These are people who, just being around them, their energy and brilliance rubs off. And if I can do it, you can do it as well. You might be surprised at some of the people that you can meet if you're committed to meeting world-class people. So develop that community around you. Put your family first. And remember, to craft a world-class life, it's so important to have world-class relationships. And that brings me to point number 5. Develop world-class competency. In other words, make a commitment to yourself to be the best in the world at what you do. And in so many ways, that starts by knowing your gifts. So many people don't know their gifts. So many people have not taken the time to get to know themselves. Let me ask you right now, here in this moment, what are the 3 gifts that make you special? You might want to turn off the recording and just journal about that for a few minutes. Maybe it's your ability to ask good questions. Maybe you're a great listener. Maybe you're a great strategic thinker. Maybe you're one of those people who just have this ability to get people to like you in the most authentic of ways. Maybe you have extraordinary discipline or high levels of energy. Maybe it's your passion. Maybe it's your analytical mind. Maybe it's the size of your heart. I don't know what it is for you, but it's really important to know your 3 greatest gifts and then to spend the remaining days of your life sculpting those gifts. If you were to focus on your 3 highest gifts over the next 3 years, I promise you, after 3 years, you will reach a level of operation where people look at you and say, that person is a genius. You will have the level of insights, the level of focus where you are truly world-class. If you look at the best of the best, they're not any different from you. They just figured out what their gifts were and then spent their days refining those talents. I was reading one newspaper report a little while ago that said elite performers on the playing field of athletics have spent over 10,000 hours in that specific sport. And that gets back to the swan effect. It might look easy because they're at a level of mastery. And that level of mastery has been arrived at through all that work on their key gifts. A number of years ago in ancient India, a Maharaja saw this sword crafter who was truly amazing at what he did. And he sat this person down and he said, "What is the secret of your mastery?" And the sword crafter said, "When I was a young child, for some reason my heart told me that my destiny was to be a sword crafter. And so, sir, as I grew up, if something did not relate to my craft, I did not focus on it and I did not do it. That is the secret of my mastery." Now, no one's suggesting that you don't live a life of balance. The point of the story is simply this. You want to focus on what you do best, and you want to make a commitment to yourself to be the best in the world at what you do. Here's an exercise I want you to do. Write down the 10 things that the person who is the best in the world at what you do for a living would be doing on a regular basis. Write those things down. Pause the recording right now. Write those things down. Then we'll come back. Okay, fantastic. I know you've written down those 10 things that the person who's the best in the world at what you do would be doing on a consistent basis. Now go down that list. Ask yourself, are you doing each of these? You're probably not. Even as successful as you may be, you're probably not doing each of those 10 things. Now create a plan to start doing those things. Remember, with better awareness, you'll make better choices. With better choices, you'll see better results. If you have a clear sense of the 10 things that the person who's the best does on a consistent basis, you've got better awareness now. You can make better choices. Of course, you're going to see better results. A few more practical points to help you be world-class in what you're doing in terms of competency. Number one, read for 60 minutes a day from material or books in your specific field. Again, you want to be an expert. You want to develop specialized knowledge. You do want to be the best in the world and the most knowledgeable in the world at what you do. It never ceases to amaze me how I'll talk to someone in a certain field and I'll ask them, oh yeah, did you read this book? Or have you heard this CD program? Or have you heard this expert speak? And they'll say, what's the name of that book? What's that CD? I've never heard of that expert. You will have such an edge if you commit yourself to reading for 60 minutes every day in your chosen field. Number two, get a mentor and develop a board of advisors to help you get to your best in your career. Often we think we can do it alone, and yet with a mentor, we will shorten the learning curve and will make much better choices in terms of how we live and how we work. Number three, use your commute time. If you're commuting half an hour each way every day, after 1 year, that amounts to 6 weeks of 8-hour days spent in your car. You want to use your car as a mobile learning center. You want to be listening to CDs of books on tapes, inspirational books, and specifically information that's going to make you world-class in your career and what you're doing. Develop that lust for learning. I remember when I met Shimon Peres, he looked at me and he said, Robin, if you eat 3 times a day, you'll be fed. If you read and learn 3 times a day, you'll be wise. And finally, go to seminars, go to workshops, go to training sessions that will help you be a better human being, that will help you be a better leader. Get on the internet. Seek out people who are authorities in their field. Learn from other people who are doing what you're doing. It's amazing that one idea can transform your life. And if you haven't been to robinsharma.com recently, please take the time to do that over the next few hours. There is so much material that will help you be a better human being, be world-class in every single thing that you do. There's free articles to download. There's quotes that you can study. There's my blog. There's learning tools, other CDs, other books that will be so helpful to you as you shine brightly and live your best life. And spending time at robinsharma.com will leave you with a lot of inspiration and allow you to connect to other like-minded women and men who are also crafting a world-class life. Remember, you become who you communicate with. You become who you associate with. Okay, point number 6, develop world-class discipline. And there's only 3 points I want you to focus on to develop world-class discipline. Number 1, get up early. Number 2, do what's right rather than what's easy. And number 3, finish what you start. I'm going to repeat those 3 simple points to develop world-class discipline once again. Number 1, get up early. Getting up at 5 o'clock every day is one of the best things you can do to develop world-class discipline. It will positively affect you in every other area of your life. You know what? It'll be challenging for about 6 weeks until you integrate that new habit. Then you will wake up feeling full of energy at 5 o'clock with ease. Number 2, do what's right rather than what's easy. Isn't that what leadership's all about? The ancient Greeks identified that as being the key trait of greatness. Living your life according to what's right, rather than living your life according to your moods, according to your impulses, and just doing what's easy. There's no integrity in that. There's no greatness in that. And then finally, finishing what you start. So many of us start something, but we don't follow through on it. And yet, in many ways, true success only comes when we finish what we start and when we follow through. And here's a powerful idea for you. Beneath every excuse lives a fear. I want you to think about that right now. Beneath every excuse that you're making, maybe to not get into better health, maybe to not have the time to build your relationships, maybe to not take the time to be a world-class learner, behind every one of those excuses or those stories that you may be telling yourself, because as human beings, we're very good at lying to ourselves and coming up with stories to rationalize why we're not really doing what's right, behind each one of those excuses is a fear. It might be a fear of failure, might be a fear of success, might be a fear of not being good enough, might be a fear of rejection. But get to know the fear, because when you get to know your fears, you can make better choices. You can rise above the fear. Let me put it like this. What you resist will persist, but what you befriend, you will transcend. When you befriend your fears, they begin to leave you. They've done their work. They've given you the growth. They can move on. World-class balance. Get into balance. You know what? I've been realizing more than ever these days that being in balance actually saves you time. Being in balance actually makes you more productive. All too often we fall into the trap or the illusion that the harder I work, the more results you're going to see, the more successful you'll become, the greater the impact you'll have. Sometimes I fall into the trap myself. I think, I need to be out there doing more speeches, doing more workshops, doing more coaching, doing more media to spread the message and live my mission. And nothing is more important to me than knowing that I'm an instrument of service to other human beings. My core mission, my crusade in so many ways, is to walk out there in the world and help people remember who they truly are. And sometimes I get out there and I think, well, if I'm busy, that means I'm having the impact. And then I press the pause button in my life and I reflect and I get back to wisdom. And wisdom is simply this: being in balance, taking time to nurture my spirit, to take care of my health and all those kinds of things because I really want to live my message. That will actually make me more productive. The big idea: being in balance makes you more productive and creates even better results. If you're tired, if you're worn out, you're not going to be focused. Your decisions are not going to be wise. You're not going to be world class in terms of your effectiveness. But being in balance will allow you to be a superstar. Being in balance will allow you to shine even more brightly. Taking the time to walk out in the woods is not a waste of time. Taking the time to walk out in the woods will allow you to be better in your work. It'll allow you to be better with your family. It'll allow you to feel better about yourself. It'll allow you to be happier. And if you're happier, that passion and that joy will be contagious. And then the final point I want to share with you to craft a world-class life: be a world-class time manager. Time is the stuff of life. In many ways, time is the great leveler. Mahatma Gandhi had 24 hours in a day. Richard Branson has 24 hours in a day. Tiger Woods, 24 hours in a day. Mother Teresa, 24 hours in a day. Salvador Dali, 24 hours in a day. Thomas Edison, 24 hours in a day. The key to living a great life, to crafting a world-class life, really comes down to how we use our time. It's our most precious resource. As a matter of fact, the moment that we're sharing right now will never come again. If you want to live an extraordinary life, it's so important that you get really good at respecting your time. Some quick tools for you. Number one, make the time to plan. If you don't know where you're going, any road is going to get you there. And the sad thing is most people don't take enough time to plan. I think it's so important that you articulate your 20-year plan, a 10-year plan for your life, a 5-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 1-year plan, and then spend a lot of time recording your 90-day plan. And then every single week, maybe on Sunday night, take the time to review your plan. That will heighten awareness of what's most important in your mind, which again will drive better choices. And with better choices, you're going to see better results. Number two, to be a great time manager, to be a world-class time manager, really, say no to the things that aren't important. It's so important to get good at setting boundaries. It's so important to get good at focusing on what's most important in your life. As Peter Drucker once said, there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. Next point on being a world-class time manager, focus on your priorities. I don't know if you've read my book, Leadership Wisdom from the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, but there's a whole chapter in there that will change the way that you focus on your time. It will make you so much more productive and so much happier in the way you live because you're literally focusing on your priorities. And the chapter is simply entitled, Focus on the Worthy. The greatest leaders on the planet concentrate on the essentials, and they say no to everything else. And the final tactic to be a world-class time manager, a time leader really, is to be different. In other words, be unorthodox. Don't do things at the same time that most of humanity does them. Something as simple as this. Most people go grocery shopping Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. It's going to take you a lot longer to do it if you shop then. Why not do it at 7 o'clock? Why not go to your favorite restaurant in off hours? The food will be fresher. The servers will not be as tired. You'll probably get even better service. Again, get up earlier. Leave for the office at different times. In the city in which I live, there's so much traffic at 8 o'clock. The cars are moving so slowly. People say, well, there's so much traffic in this city. And I almost feel like saying to them, there's only a lot of traffic at the time you've decided to go to work. At 6 o'clock, there's very little traffic. Now, I'm respectful for the fact that maybe you have to be at work at a certain time. And if this idea doesn't work for you, I understand that. But a lot of us have flexibility in when we can commute. I remember when I was practicing as a lawyer a number of years ago, there was one partner who would come in at 5 o'clock in the morning and he'd leave at 3 so he could be home with his family. He didn't spend long hours waiting in traffic jams. The point of wisdom I'm really trying to share with you is this. Be unorthodox. The most effective performers, the true world-class human beings that I've met, were not afraid to be different. They thought differently. They ran their lives differently. They conducted their activities at different times as compared to most people. But remember, what is leadership truly about? It's about taking the road less traveled. It's about listening to your heart. It's about doing what's right for you so that you can shine brightly, so you can play your best game, and so ultimately you can fulfill the best potential that resides within you. Makes me think of what Emerson once said: what lies behind us and what lies in front of us pales in comparison to what lives within us. I hope that I've been of service to you as we've gone through this audio learning program, How to Craft a World-Class Life. I feel so blessed I've been here with you. I hope you'll revisit this material again. I hope you'll study it, and I hope you'll teach it to other people. Remember, one of the best ways to learn is to teach. And when you teach someone else material, you deepen the learning within yourself. If you want more ideas on how to craft a world-class life, please visit robinsharma.com. Sign up for our monthly newsletter, which you'll receive at no cost whatsoever. It's full of practical ideas. Remember, one idea can transform your life. And there's many learning resources such as books, CDs, and videos that will help you live the life that you're destined to live. You know, time waits for no one, and the best time to craft a world-class life indeed is today. Most importantly, I hope you will take this material, and hopefully I've offered you some practical tools, and walk out in the world and continue the process of being the person you know in your heart you are destined to be. I'm Robin Sharma, wishing you greatness.